afternoon and welcome back to Football League World TV. It's time for another show here on the channel, and this afternoon we're going to be taking a look at two winners and two losers from the EFL weekend just gone. It was another exciting weekend of EFL football. My name is Sam Rourke, the Chief Editor of Football League World.co.uk. I'm joined by my colleague Marcus Ali to run through two winners and two losers from the weekend. Marcus, how are you getting on, mate?
Yeah, really well. Thanks, Sam. Great to be back in the swing of things, and looking forward to reflecting on the weekend's action in a slightly different way this afternoon.
Good stuff. Anyone watching this show, whether it be live on Facebook, Twitter or YouTube, please do get yourself in the comments. Who are your winners and who are your losers from the weekend just gone? We'd love to get your thoughts. Right, on this show, we're going to start off with the winners. Right, Marcus, let's get your first winner from the EFL this weekend then.
So kicking off in the Championship, it's Reading Football Club sort of getting themselves up and running for the campaign with a 2-1 win at home to Blackpool. Obviously, not Blackpool, Cardiff City. It was a come-from-behind victory with a club legend, Shane Long, getting himself on the score sheet, and then the manager's son scoring the winner from about 25 yards. So in terms of vibes, I'm not sure it could get much better than that. Great to see Tom Ince back playing with some confidence. He's been a player who, over the years, his ability really hasn't been in question. But in terms of from a man management point of view, it's hard to see who could understand him better, really, than of course his father in the dugout. So yeah, a huge 3 points for Reading. And yeah, I think just the style of the win and the way that it came about should definitely lift the spirits of the squad and the fan base ahead of what still looks like going to be a difficult season.
Yeah, Reading, a team that many fans, pundits and bookmakers have fancied for the bottom three. Marcus, has that win on Saturday changed your viewpoint on Paul Ince's side, or is it still too early to say?
Well, that's my main sort of reason for selecting this, because I think the emotions of it could increase that spirit so much more. I think if Paul Ince has proved anything since taking over at Reading, it's that he can motivate the group of players. There's possibly been some tactical shortcomings, but at the back end of last season, it was clear that they were playing for him. And we saw a lot of players step up their performance levels compared to the ways that they were playing under Veljko Paunovic before him. So to go one goal down, it looked like a first half that the Bluebirds dominated chance creation wise. To come out in the second half and be able to turn it around in the way that they did, obviously with Long levelling before the break, is something that will give them a lot of confidence. And home form in particular is going to be something that's key for Reading if they are to give themselves a fighting chance this season. We saw the spirit that Derby were able to build last season, and it almost led to them pulling off something impossible and keeping it in their sights for ages. Reading are nowhere near having the points deducted or anything like that. So in a far more advantageous situation, if they can create that siege mentality and bring the best out of players that we know have Championship sort of pedigree and ability in their locker, then they're going to have a really good chance to make a good fist of it. So yeah, the way it came about, I'm not sure Reading fans will be very happy with Long and Ince on the score sheet in particular.
Yeah, I think the fact that Cardiff went 1-0 up after just 5 minutes, there was an air of doom and gloom around the Select Carleton Stadium on Saturday, but it was a valiant, spirited display from Paul Ince's side to get the 3 points, get their first points on the board in this Championship season. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Marcus has selected Reading as one of his winners from the weekend just gone, as they recorded a 2-1 win over Cardiff City. Right, we're going to look at another winner next. Okay, Marcus, who have you got for your second winner from the weekend?
Steve Evans' Stevenage coming as the second winner, making it 2 wins from 2 in League Two, beating newly promoted Stockport County. But yeah, it's a completely different proposition to how you'd usually face a side coming straight up from the National League. Again, it's sort of the manner of the victory that's swung me towards selecting the Borough for this one. Trailing 1-0 for a large portion of the second period, a great strike from Callum Camps giving the visitors the lead, and then turning it around in the 88th minute to equalise, and then the 95th minute to snatch all 3 points to make it 2 from 2 as well, maintain that 100% record at the start of the season, I think should be a huge win for Stevenage, and one that really increases the spirits out sort of inside the club after what was a very difficult 2021-22 campaign. I think Steve Evans probably had to win a portion of the fan base over heading into this season, but to start the way they are, I think they're one of 5 teams in League Two that's taken maximum points from their opening 2 games. So yeah, to snatch it in the 95th minute winner in the first home game of the season must be a really good moment for the club.
Yeah, Jamie Reid with that 95th minute winner. Big goal for him personally. He'll be hoping to kick on from that goal in particular. Let's just touch on Stevenage while we're here, Marcus. Are they a side you feel can be up there this season in terms of a top 7 finish, or are you not so sure just yet?
Definitely in the mix. I think League Two so evenly matched. It's almost hard to write off that many teams in the division. But I think Evans comes with a certain style of play that Stevenage are going to be pretty repeatable, and teams are going to know what they are coming up against. If they're able to get the ball in the box as many times as they have been, they are going to cause problems. And with the level of the back lines in the 4th division, you do end up with a chance or two. Sometimes if you are able to keep putting the pressure on, basically. I look at their back line and see that as maybe a key way to keep in games low margin to enable them to pick up the points that will be needed to put together a push. But they've just conceded 1 goal, 2-2-1 wins so far in the league, and they've only conceded 9 shots in those 2 matches, which to me is pretty impressive. Just 5 on target as well. So yeah, for now, it's looking good for Steve Evans. Obviously, it's such a small sample size, but I definitely don't think they're going to have the sort of relegation concerns they were having last season, and they could potentially look at a top 12 finish as something very realistic that would be a mark of a lot of progress for the season.
Yeah, 2-1 wins for Stevenage so far. An impressive 2-1 win away at Tranmere on the opening weekend was a good result for Steve Evans' side. Well, let us know in the comments your thoughts on Marcus's winners from the EFL weekend just gone. Reading and Stevenage are Marcus's selections. Please do let us know. We've had a few comments come in. Let's just touch on them now. One from Johan Borenson on YouTube. His winners are Charlton and Reading. Johan, I believe you're a Charlton fan. No bias there, I assume, but good to see. Losers are Huddersfield and MK Dons. Obviously, MK Dons losing on the weekend. They haven't picked up any points yet in League One. We'll just touch on them while we're here. Marcus, I imagine you were quite happy with that Charlton result on the weekend.
Yeah, first home game of the season to get 3 points against a much fancied Derby side is a very impressive result. It will definitely be a relief for Ben Garner, I think, to get the first one out of the way. It really was a classic cliche sort of game of 2 halves. I think if Charlton were potentially even a couple goals down at half time, they could have had no complaints. They were relying on the Ramses' poor finishing at times in that first half. Joe Wallacott capping another impressive performance in between the sticks. But they really did come out a different team in the second half and scored a very good goal and a nice passing move, finished off by Corey Blackett-Taylor getting a tap in after Joe Wildsmith sort of tapped away an Albie Morgan shot. So yeah, some negatives from the first half performance. It was clear to see that Ben Garner was frustrated with that, and that sort of carried over to his post-match interview. But no, to take 4 points from Accrington away and Derby at home in the first couple of games of the League One campaign is a very respectable tally. So yeah, they'll take some optimism and some confidence from that into a very tough trip to Sheffield Wednesday next time out.
Yeah, absolutely. Some really positive comments from Albie Morgan as well after the game, sort of citing the belief and togetherness that Ben Garner's instilled into that Addicts team. Let's just touch on Huddersfield then, Marcus, while we're here. Johan selected them as one of the losers of the weekend. They, of course, lost to Birmingham City 2-1 at St Andrews on Friday night. No wins, no points so far for Danny Schofield at the Terriers. Thoughts on that one? Again, Birmingham, a side that are tipped by many to be down there, but it was an impressive win from the Blues, but for the Terriers, not so much.
Yeah, pretty disappointing performance once again. Obviously, Danny Schofield's been backed by the board there, but it's not a surprise to see him maybe not have the same impact on the squad that Corberán had after such a long time compared to what Schofield's had now that he had in the dugout with that side. I do think Huddersfield stand out above MK Dons as those 2 sides with 2 losses from 2. That's maybe a little bit more concerning. It's clear to see that the Lewis O'Brien shaped hole in that side. I think every championship side would probably miss a player like that, but just how crucial he was last season, in and out of possession, a real driving force in central midfield. And then going forward, that they don't seem to have the same threat that they were able to. But I think that's something that will improve in the coming weeks. Birmingham, there seems to be a bit of early season optimism. Obviously, stuff off the pitch rumbling away in the background, but a few of the signings have come in and hit the ground running. I know, it was a very impressive win for them, and good for them to get up and running under John Eustace.
Yeah, for sure. Let's just touch on MK Dons. And as I've said, no points yet for the Liam Manning side. A 1-0 defeat to Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. A solitary Josh Windass penalty got the 3 points for the Owls. Marcus, I know you're a big fan of Liam Manning and MK Dons, particularly what they did last year. Lost a few key players in the summer, the likes of Scott Swine and Harry Darling left Stadium MK. Are you concerned at this early stage, or again, is it just it's a very small sample size? Is it just too early to judge right now?
I'm not concerned yet at all, really. I think Sheffield Wednesday are going to be right up there this season. There were tough opponents for them last season, did the double over MK as well there. To just concede from a penalty between the two sides isn't too much of a worry. I was more worried considering their performance at Cambridge on the opening day. They didn't really offer too much, but I can understand why sort of moving into Liam Manning's sort of very demanding style of play and how different it is to other clubs in and around that sort of area of the EFL. And they do have a lot of new players that have come in since the losses that they had this summer. So it wouldn't surprise me if it does take a few weeks, maybe a month or two for them to get up to speed. But I don't really have any concerns about MK Dons really getting going at some point in the season and at least throwing themselves into that top 7 conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, keep your winners and losers coming in through the comments. We will get them up during the show and discuss them. We are discussing 2 winners and 2 losers from the EFL weekend just gone. Right, let's take a look at Marcus's losers next. Right, let's get your first loser then from the weekend, Marcus. Who have you gone for?
So I've gone for Burton Albion in League One. A bit of a nightmare start. They ended up losing 4-0 at home to Bristol Rovers, suffered a red card to Conor Shaughnessy in the first minute of the game, and then that free kick that was conceded on the edge of the area ended up being put into the bottom corner by Anthony Evans. So, everything that could go wrong did in those first few minutes. But it's the way that the Brewers reacted to that kind of disappointed me. Obviously, it's a mountain to climb. You're probably really not expecting to get anything out of the game. But to be 4-0 down at half-time was really disappointing. The second goal comes from a short corner that they don't do anywhere near enough to stop the cross and then don't track the runners at the back post. It's quite a simple goal in the end. And then Aaron Collins with 2 nice finishes in the end. But it's the positions that he's getting into with such ease that will be a real concern to Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. They've been such a well-drilled side, particularly out of possession, very organised in recent years, and that's kind of laid the foundations for them to stay up in League One in sort of a rescue act in 2020-21, and then last season to keep themselves in a comfortable mid-table position for the whole campaign. It was a kind of a tricky summer off the pitch, with not sure if Hasselbank was going to stay there or not. Some interest from Barnsley we had talks with. I'm not sure he's getting the level of buy-in that he did have last season from the players, knowing that potentially his head was turned at some point during the summer. A lot of people tipping the Brewers for a tough season, and performances like that against a newly promoted side is really concerning. They've still got the same sort of senior players on the pitch, the likes of Brayford, Deji Oshalaja, decent attacking players as well in Joe Powell and Johnny Smith, but they're not hitting the levels that they were last season. I know we're only 2 games in, but I think they're 7-0 down on aggregate across the 2 games so far this season. And they haven't been a side that's offered tons of attacking threat going forward. It very much has been about a strong defensive process and targeting set pieces over the last couple of seasons. So, they're definitely a side I'm more worried about after the first 2 games than I was going into the season. Just the way they capitulated it in that first half does leave a sour taste in the mouth.
Yeah, I mean, a 4-0 defeat is one thing, but I think it was the manner of some of the goals conceded by the Brewers, which will definitely concern a lot of Burton Albion fans in particular. Like you say, 7 goals conceded in their first 2 League One games. Looks like it could be a tough season for Burton this campaign. We do, of course, have 3 weeks left of the transfer window, so we could see some business done by Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank and his team. but that remains to be seen. Well, there we go. Do you agree with Marcus's selection of Burton Albion as one of his losers from the EFL weekend? 4-0 defeat to newly promoted Bristol Rovers at home. Right, let's look at some more of Marcus's losers. Okay then, Marcus, let's get your final loser from the EFL weekend.
So back up to the Championship, I've gone with Swansea City, 3-0 loss at home to Blackburn Rovers. I don't really want to go too overboard on this one because Blackburn have scored 3 goals from 4 shots in the whole match. But it must be incredibly frustrating for Russell Martin. That's 73% possession. But in terms of chance creation and what they're doing with that share of the ball, it was very hard to see any chances of note. And when you got the quality of the players on the pitch that they did have, the outlet like Michael Obafemi and, of course, Joel Perreault, such a danger from all angles, it seems. They really did create very little. And I think that's something that plagued them at times last season. And also the nature of the Blackburn goals will be something that I think Martin's probably worried about cropping up throughout the course of the season. They scored 3 goals on the counter-attack. And when you're a possession-based side, you know you're going to have to face quick transitions and teams being direct once they've sort of won possession back a lot. So to be able to breach them 3 times in a quite a similar manner will be very concerning, and definitely something that they'll be working on in training, sort of their shape as soon as they lose the ball. But yeah, so plenty of food for thought for Martin. But after a disappointing result drawing at Rotherham United, after probably having the better on the balance of play on the opening day, to lose 3-0 in your first home game is a bit of a kick in the teeth after showing a lot of promise towards the back end of last season.
Yeah, certainly a very disappointing result for Russell Martin and his Swansea side on Saturday. What was it in particular then about that Swansea display that concerned you most? We spoke about the amount of possession that Swansea had. Was it the sheer lack of chance creation that perhaps concerned you? And also some of the defensive mishaps we saw. It looked like Nathan Wood struggled up against Ben Brereton Diaz at times. Kyle Norton, at times, sometimes out of position. What was your sort of thoughts on where it went wrong for the Swans?
So it's mainly the defensive side that is my concern, because I think the way Blackburn score all 3 goals are the type of chances that the opposition are going to create against Swansea most weeks. A lot of people are happy to concede possession with the condition that when they do win the ball back, they can get forward quickly and get numbers in the final third to try and hurt them. And that was really successful for Thomason's men. Obviously, Brereton Diaz up against Nathan Wood is something of a mismatch given their Championship experience and the goals that Brereton Diaz has got behind him. And you have to credit Blackburn for the way they defended and the way that they were able to limit Swansea, potentially providing a blueprint for other teams heading to the Swansea.com stadium this season. But yeah, it's just the share of possession is something that will probably continue to happen. And yeah, it was just a lack of ideas and combination play to really open Blackburn up. They were one of the better defensive sides in the division at times last season, but have lost a lot of players from that back line. So it's definitely not. Swansea struggled to break them down a lot more than I expected. And in particular, the concerning thing would be the way they conceded, because it's a type of goals and types of chances and attacks that they're going to have to be dealing with week in, week out much better if they are to improve on last term. Yeah,
just finally then on Swansea, Marcus. I know it's sometimes hard to pinpoint one player as being the failing of a team not performing well. I mean, let's look at Flynn Downs' departure. We see Jay Fulton operate alongside Matt Grimes. Do you think the absence of Flynn Downs is showing in these early signs of the season?
I think so, given that the attempt to find a like-for-like replacement for Flynn Downs was in bringing in Joe Allen from Stoke City. Now, he doesn't seem right up to speed, hasn't been as involved in the final third and in building the relationships across the pitch as he would have liked to so far. So in this very small period, that the loss has been felt more due to Allen not being able to come in and replace Downs straight away. Obviously, it's not the same profile of player at all, but I think in how comfortable he is in the ball, on the ball and in tight areas, is something that was similar to Downs. Of course, he moved on. So yeah, it's something that Martin will be looking to address in recent years. Jay Fulton was someone that he didn't really fancy at all last season. So I think that shows how it's not really been an ideal transfer window, that he's having to shoehorn him in straight away, because he doesn't really feel like he's got other players to come in that can really sort of make the sort of contributions that Downs did, keeping things ticking over last season. So that's definitely probably a loss in the side that they felt, that led to them struggling to really create many chances on Saturday.
Right, well, that's our look at 2 winners and 2 losers from the EFL weekend just gone. Marcus, thanks for your time this afternoon and your 4 selections. If you're watching this on repeat on YouTube, please do stick a like in below this video and comment down below your 2 winners and your 2 losers from the weekend. We'd love to get your thoughts. Right, well, that's it from Football League World TV today. We've got more content coming up throughout the rest of the week, so please do stay tuned. Lots going on. For sure. Just before we go, one more comment coming in from Johan. Another loser, Crawley. Spent a lot of good players. Thoughts? Yeah, definitely a contender there for sure. Lots going on at Crawley off the pitch with their new ownership in there. Right, well, that brings an end then to this particular show. 2 winners, 2 losers. Join us same time next week, where we'll look back at the EFL weekend coming up. Right, from myself and Marcus, we shall see you soon.